I know like the biggest issue that I have with that car was third gear. If you only rest SRT4s, you know the third gear is it was always that, and I know a lot of something that a lot of people complain about was the torque steer. You know, they made more torque than horsepower, and those things were just, those things.
Look at kind of make loud noise. It keeps me on.
What about how difficult it was to work? I feel like everything's kind of tight, you know?
It was unique. I remember having to change the clutch out on mine, and it was not like your ordinary Honda clutch swap or nothing like that. It was definitely
living in America, but that car kind of gave me, for some reason, import vibes. I don't know, I can't explain why, but it just gave me import vibes. I'm not sure if it's because I already seen that car before.
Or some people might think,
I don't know. I think that I'm not into American cars, but like I was genuinely looking to buy them because they were cheap, man. It was like $10,000. You can get one from the dealership. Not brand new, but like used, you know. And it was such an easy way to get a turbo without me having to buy a single cam or buy a Honda and then go turbo. So it was just too much. I'd rather get some factory.
we had we're just not as, talked about as like Honda, other imports. But yeah, there are people still building on Milford Street. But he came to me and he said that he was looking into doing like a kid swap SRT4. Have I ever looked into it? Because anyone that's been following me for the last at least 5 years, let's just say, right, knows that like I take a swap and put it in the room. I've done great swaps and so like, I was known for being able to, do something like that. So he came to me, told me his idea, he wanted to put a key swap in an SRT4 just because of, its reputation, reliability, keeps popping, the motor. So he came to me with the idea and said, can I do something with it? And I told him, yeah, I can look into it, but I'm going to need a chassis. I can't just come up with a mount kit or anything. Right, without actually having a physical car. It just so happens to be that he had a white SRT4 shell laying in his lot. And he told me, just let me know when and where, I'll drop the car off and let me know when it's done. So sure enough, we worked it out, we coordinated it, he dropped off the car, and I designed a mount kit for it, and I started later on producing them. So I saw
really big. How? You're all over.
But yeah, I'm working something out. So basically, that car, he gave you that car at the shelf. Yeah. In return, he was making a kit. So he wanted the kit. You can't help exchange for the shelf. To me, it was a good deal. Yeah. I like the SRT4, and I felt like he was already. He got me into something that I already started with the case swap, so I was like, maybe I'll just end up building it up. It's a chassis, right? So that's what ended up happening to him. I ended up taking that shell. I ended up making another kit, but because I'm never satisfied with what's already out there, I had to switch it up a little bit and all-wheel drive. So I ended up doing like an all-wheel drive conversion.
Really? Was it just that Civic? Like the 14 Civic?
No, probably worse.
Oh, it's worse. Wow.
Same aspect in the front, same thing. The rack had to be raised, the subframe had to be modified. Tommy had plenty of clearance, but here's the rear end. So the SRT4s, if you're, for those that are familiar, the SRT4 doesn't have a typical subframe and control arms like your typical Honda or Evo. It's like I don't even know what term they call that from the factory, but the subframe is basically attached to the spare tire well, and then there's just like 4 links that attach to the trailer arm, and then there's a hub attached to the coilover suspension. They probably have a term for that type of suspension in users that I don't know off the top of my head. It's very weird, so that rear end is what bought me a lot. I made a lot of revisions, and even now, I still own the car, and even now that rear suspension still needs work. Like, it's not 100%. So it's something that I'm gonna get to at a later date, but anyway, I ended up putting the car together, K-swapped it over the ride, got it on the dyno, I think it was exactly 960 wheel on the K20.
That's solid.
Gen 2 turbo, next gen.
Yeah.
Some off the shelf parts. But yeah, I never got to race it down the track.
Street?
Not even nothing.
Okay.
The car never really hit the road, and it was unfortunately we'll get into it. But once I crashed the city, I ended up parking out that car to fund to rebuild another Eagle Swap City. So that's kind of where that got put on hold. But like I said, I still own the chassis. I still kept a lot of parts of the axles. I still have the drive shaft, the mount kit, a lot of the specific parts that made the all-wheel drive SRT4. I still kept for like a limited time. I sold off like all the bigger parts, the turbo, the wagon rear, engine trim, all that stuff.
So do you think that the new S1 like rear diff would be an option for that maybe?
Oh yeah.
I think that ought to be more.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like to change as much how you mount it.
No, because like I said, that rear front cover that I'm making will bolt right to the diff mounts that I made. So at worst, all I have to change is just the front bar that runs across the frame rails to the rear. So that would probably be the only change that I have to make. But to be honest, when I do come out with that car again, which will be in the future, I will put a wagon diff only because of the fact that like everything is already made for the wagon, the axle, the drive shaft. I don't want to have to redo all that just to put in that diff when it's already been done. If I'm starting from scratch, like if I have a new build that I'm going to all-wheel drive, that's actually going to go route. I'm going to take if it works out.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that, man. I want to see. I don't really get to see too many SRT4s, but it's cool when you see it. It's like, man, it's kind of solid.
Yeah. And I'm not shooting for anything crazy. I'm not saying I'm going to try to go for any records. Honestly, just I love and enjoy doing something different, something out of the ordinary, and just having fun with it.
Would you make it would it be streetcar, right? Or
I would like it to be, and that's the route that I want to take. I still, regardless of the accident, I still love a street car. I'll take a street car with a nice build over a drag car any day. And that was one of my biggest regrets with my last EV, the blue one. Was just going all out drag car. I stopped enjoying it. I do not enjoy it any longer. It's a dedicated trailer queen, dedicated track car. Couldn't take it out on the street. Too many parts that were just so expensive to risk taking it out on the street. Just didn't make it worth it. So I still love the street. Not particular street racing, but as being able to hop in and just take it down the road, or take it to an event or a car show. That to me, I truly enjoy it. So the SRT4, I would like to say I would like to make it a street car, but a lot of people would say otherwise because it's got Lexan windows and a 6-point cage, so it's not your typical street car.
Right.
Yeah, I would like to take it out on the street and enjoy it, and then take it to the track to see what it runs. Just like the Mini. The Mini was a full street car that I built for the interior. Still got everything, leather seats, carpet, like you name it. Everything's still there, back seats. But I took it to the track just to see what it could do because it's something that I've always been curious, and a lot of my customers and supporters have been curious. Like, all right, you make all this power, it's cool, but what does it do? Does it perform? And anyone can put an engine in and take it out the street and have fun. But people want to see what you can do with it, how it can perform, and what limits. Those are questions that I never have for people. A lot of people buy my kit to swap their room, but it's like how much information can I possibly give if I don't actually test it out and push it to the limit? And that's what people want nowadays. You know, you can't advertise a part if you already test it out for yourself to see what I really yeah, you know, there's only so much you're gonna sell it.
Right.
So
now with this, is it the world's first, or this has been done before?
K-swap?
Yes. Are
So
you the
I'm-
first one to do a K-swap?
I'm not.
Okay.
So right before I did it, there was someone that did a K24 swap, made a same chassis first gen, and that's kind of in a way what inspired me to do it
Okay.
because I know it's been done.
Right.
But that very first one that I did, I was the first to do it with an all-wheel drive. So the first one that I built was a K-Series all-wheel drive. So again, I wasn't the first. I was only just the first to do it all-wheel drive.
All-wheel drive, which I'm sure is probably for this kind of car, it's beneficial. Right?
I personally think it's beneficial for any car.
Yeah.
You know, especially like the street car, just having the ability to, you know, have that traction and be able to notice and just take off without worrying about wheel spin. You know, like I spoke earlier, like that. To me, that perfect happy medium of a street car, four-wheel drive, with 450, 500, with the all-wheel drive, now that changes.
Yeah.
You no longer you need to limit yourself to that power because of traction issues.
Right. What's the limitations on that?
With this car,
Yeah, like all-wheel drive.
so this car, I mean, these Mini Coopers in general, they're heavier in a stock form, in a stock trim. They're much heavier than like your gearheads, let's just say.
Okay.
By a couple hundred pounds, not too much, but a couple hundred pounds. So I believe, like these first gen Mini Coopers, they have a couple different models, but like this one, R53, it comes factory supercharged. I think they're like roughly around like 2,700 pounds, 2,800 pounds. So it's, you know, it's heavier than it needs you when you're comparing, but it's still light for what it is. Like, you know, BMW, they don't like cheap out on parts and they overbuild. They're very heavy. Like just the, you know, each seat in the front is like about 50. Last time I weighed it was 50 pounds for one seat in the front.
Damn.
So they're heavy cars.
Yeah.
And, you know, out of the box, but I do anything to it. But so what I was getting at is the weight of it will help with the traction. You know, the more weight you take out of the car, the less traction you're going to have.
Right.
That's why a lot of these, you know, mainly front-wheel drive Civics that you see running, they all have weight plates with excessive amount, you know, talking 200-300 pounds just on that weight plate for traction purposes. So, you know, as far as on the street, the all-wheel drive on these cars, it's not even like really a topic of discussion. But front-wheel drive, you know, again, I know people making even 800 horsepower front-wheel drive, but you know, the reality is you gotta put that down and you're kind of limited.
Right.
You know, and there's stuff you can do, tires and whatnot. I'm not going to get into it, but you know, I don't want people criticizing them. You know, it's a lot harder. You know, there's no about that.
Well, what are they criticizing?
Just because someone might say, oh, 800 horsepower, I put that down. There's always going to be someone just saying something about it, you know, trying to argue what I'm trying to say. But the reality is, you know, after a certain amount of horsepower, if you've been around cars with some horsepower, you know, traction is going to become an issue.
Yeah, especially on a car like this, too, that weighs 700 pounds. 100%.
Yes.
Now, what was it about the Mini Cooper that made you want to put a case in?
So a little quick, I'll touch up on it a little bit on what really got me into the Mini Coopers. A couple of years ago, my brother was buying a Mini Cooper R53, same thing. And he ended up buying it with a lone head gasket. These things are notorious for bad engines.
Yeah.
Really a little bit about that. They're just built poorly. So it's going to be a W11. It's a motor. It's not even made by BMW. It's either made by original or some other manufacturer. I don't even remember, but it's just poor design and they have a ton of issues. And so he ended up buying them. Well, I forgot the specifics, but it wasn't wrong. He ended up taking it apart, rebuilding it, fixing it, and right before the car was done, he ended up going to register the car because he was going to finish it that weekend. It was a Friday. On his way to motor vehicle, so on his motorcycle, he ended up was driving the tractor trailer and passed away. So after his death, the car sat in the parents' house and he left it. And after some time, I finished it, put it back together, and registered. I drove it for like a year. Got me back into it. And over that course of the year, I started noticing a lot of the issues that the Mini Cooper was causing.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I ended up getting rid of the car. I just sold it. At the point, financially, I couldn't keep up with the car that I had. I was commuting with it, and every paycheck was going towards the car to repair, keep up the maintenance. Just wasn't worth it, so I ended up selling it. I parted with the car. And then later on, I'd say maybe about like 2 years later, so 2-3 years later down the road, I got curious about it. Because if you've ever driven one, these cars are so much fun. They're fun as hell. They handle like we're like in the motorcycle.
Yes.
It's a really fun car. It looks like it from that. So I ended up, I was watching the Italian Job. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
I watched the Italian Job one night, and that feeling of like wanting another Mini Cooper came. So at the time, I ended up finding Craigslist. So it was like, weird that I found, resorted back to Craigslist, but I ended up finding a Mini Cooper, which ended up being the first all-wheel drive K-Series. I ended up buying that, and it came with stock motor. I drove it back and forth, and then I want to say not even a week of ownership, the motor coming home, let go. So now I'm looking for a motor as a replacement because I just bought this car. What am I going to do? I don't even have the title to sell it. So I ended up doing research, looking for a motor, how I'm going to replace it, what's it going to cost me. The cheapest motor I could find at the time was like $1,500 for a long block. And a Mini Cooper motor, or even a motor in general, motor, you're at least going to do the bare minimum maintenance on it.
Right.
And these are chain motors, so without going into too much specifics, just for the engine and to do the bare minimum maintenance on it. Just to put it back to having probably another problem there.
Yeah.
So at that point, I started looking at my options. What else can I do? Of course, the very first thing I think is case swap. I know it's already been done. I've never seen it. I want to let me look into it. But, being creative and just trying to do something different, again, not following someone else's path, I was like, let me see if I can, all-wheel drive swap, do something a little bit different. And so I did, same thing, I went out the motor, I got the all-wheel drive transmission to see if it's possible. Same thing with this car, right? The pinions got to be moved up, the subframe has to be got out. It's not like a true bolt-on.
Okay.
Requires a lot of modification. But, long story short, I ended up doing it. But, that's what inspired me, and that's what got me into looking at the Mini Coopers and the K-Swap, and it was just because of those, situations that I, ran into.
Yeah. Sorry for your loss.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's crazy. This car, the Italian Job, I completely forgot about that movie. Yeah, now you said that. Yeah, I remember going through the streets of it's crazy. But yeah. So you sell a kit though, right?
I do, yeah.
Now with this kit, you still have to make the modifications on your own?
For all-wheel drive. So I haven't done any of these all-wheel drive kits only because I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but not everyone can afford to do it. So for me to come out, it's touching back on what I was saying before, for me to come out with an all-wheel drive kit for a chassis that's not as popular, and to invest that time and money to come out with these kits to sell a handful, just doesn't make sense. And anyone in manufacturing knows that the more you make of it, the cheaper it becomes.
Right.
It sounds weird, but it's the reality. The more I can get in order in bulk, like as far as metal, wiring, whatever it is that makes my kit, it's much cheaper to make a product doing it buying stuff in wholesale. Right. So I can't do that in all the drive kits because I'm going to have thousands invested sitting around. It's not going to sell the all the drive kit. right. You know, so the overdrive kits, that's what anyone that is interested in doing it. I have the resources and I can share the information.
Yeah, you have a video up on YouTube
Yeah,
as well.
the information's up.
Full on breakdown.
Yeah.
You know, whole kit and everything.
Right, yeah, for front-wheel drive applications. So I ended up making that video to help people out that if they don't have any experience.
Yeah.
They can watch that video, buy my kit, and then we bolt it on. So for front-wheel drive applications, it's a bolt-on kit. There's no welding involved, no cutting. It's just a bolt-on kit, and I basically walk you through the whole installation process. And you know, that definitely, I've even had, you know, a ton of people message me and tell me, like, they have this Mini Cooper sitting in their backyard that has been blown up and haven't done anything. And like, you know, good thing I came up with something, you know, different because now they can bring that Mini back to life. It doesn't have to sit and, you know, end up in a junkyard.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. And at the end of the day, like, people like something different, right? The old drives are, Civics are cool. I still do them, or even a Civic in general. But it comes to a point where it's like, it becomes so repetitive, you want to see something different. And, you know, I've been able to offer that to people. I have Honda boys now, people that had Civics, parted it out to take all their stuff to buy it just to be different.
It's a cool swap, and I think it's very fitting for the car.
It is.
And you get a better interior.
Yeah.
So
You definitely get a lot more luxury and comfort.
A luxury comfort
With the Mini.
With the Mini, yeah. So what is this car make right now at its city?
So this car right now makes over 800 wheels.
Okay.
And our limiting factor is the block, even though it is built and it is piston and rod motor, cams, you know, the whole thing, it's still on a stock sleeve. So no CSS, no nothing, literally just stock open deck sleeves.
Okay.
So that's our limiting factor.
Do you guys do like the I know with the 4Gs you guys like you fill blocks
like
cement fill, or is that thing you guys do?
I've seen some people like with the epoxy fill or cement fill, but honestly, for like the time and money on the K series, you have companies like CSS that are approved. I mean, there's got 1,000 horsepower in just a CSS block, which ultimately is still a stock sleeve, but they machine and press fit.
How's everybody doing tonight? Say hi. Say hi. How's everybody doing tonight? Starting real late. My sleeping is no good. I work night shift, but it was so cold in here the other night. Stop. We're talking to people. It was so cold in here the other night that I thought I'd try the daytime, and it does not work for me, so I didn't sleep much at all. So trying to get something done. Got that transmission locked down. It's not the prettiest in the world, but not the prettiest in the world, but I think it'll work. But again, really, dude, come on. You don't have to lay in my lap all the time. No. He's hyper. He ain't been out walking, running. But, how's everybody doing? I appreciate the people that's in here. I might even heard a few choice cuss words because it seems like everything I'm doing tonight is going wrong. So I'm just vaping. I don't think I'm allowed to do that on camera. But trying to get something done. I'm gonna try to. That's still low. I'm gonna try to line up that belt. Try to get that. figure out what I'm gonna do with that shifter. But I don't know if y'all can see it in the camera. I think you can zoom. If y'all got any tips and tricks about how to do this TikTok live thing, let me know. But what I'm having to do, I'm having to use my second account just so I can see what's going on. And because it's already went out on me once already. I gotta know when it goes out, even though I'm still late on it. But I'm having to use my secondary account so I can see. So the other one with the skull face, that's me in it. So I don't know. But, y'all got any tips and tricks on how to do that? By all means, let me know. Anybody wants to, again, I'm new to this TikTok live thing. Anybody wants to join me on the live, if they want to talk or whatever, join me. As long as y'all keep it decent and everything, I don't care. Even if I'm working on something, I need to put that in the description. Even if I'm working on something, y'all want to join, I don't care, go ahead. But yeah, got a real late start. Should have been out here way earlier. But I don't know if y'all's here the other night, but the rendering is on TikTok. It's the videos on there. There's two of them, either one you want to watch. But the rendering of what it's going to be is on there. I'm just at the slow stage of the fabricating, make sure and getting everything ready to move. So, but again, anybody has any tips and tricks? This is my very first build when it comes to something like this. I used to do Trans Ams and Firebirds, and I had a 300ZX back in my 20s, back in the early 2000s. And so it's been a minute since I've done some stuff. And so it's pretty much relearning everything, learning new things because things have changed in 20 years. But again, it's something for me to do, just tinkering. But y'all let me know how y'all doing tonight, and join me however you want to do it. Leave some comments, ask me some questions. A little bit warmer tonight than it was the other night. I froze to death the other night. It was in the 40s, and I'm in Alabama, so I don't know what's going on. Yet it's 90 degrees in Texas. I'm sorry that I'm not paying you attention. I'm sorry. You're annoying. Yes, you are. It was even too cold for him to be out the other night. I didn't want him out here. He's using my good luck charm when it comes to being out here. If I can't figure out something, I'll figure it out and we'll do it. Stop, you're not getting my lap on what you want. Come on.
Guard around the sleeves to be able to handle the support, that extra power. And again, this guy's making 1,000 horsepower wheel on that block. But this one specifically does not have it. It's a completely stock cast block, 26 across. So that's why this is a K20. It's a full K20, K2, whatever you want to say, Type S. Okay, so it's a full Type S motor. Right.
It's a K25.
that's gonna go back to your goals, but me personally, I like both. I run both K24 and K20. When I have, if I'm given the option.
I did think of something stupid. Future build, but I listen to this podcast while I'm working out in the shop. And what y'all think? The future, I'm not gonna do it soon because I still got a lot to learn, but see if we can't throw it in. I've seen somebody put a V8 in a lawnmower. That's a little much. But I actually thought of getting this scrap 4-cylinder 4-banger and trying that with a lawnmower. Future. Like I said, let's see what y'all think. I think it'll be interesting. Obviously we couldn't use nothing of the lawnmower other than, you know, but I don't know. This is an idea. Again, that's way in the future. So, but hell, I've seen people drop I've seen videos of people dropping V8s in them. So I mean, who knows? Because of the specifics, that's why I said. But this the new one, I don't know if y'all can see it. Y'all can probably see it a little bit in the background. That's going to be the new project. That's going to be the new project. It's got a pretty good size engine in it. And that's going to be the new one. I'm not going to reveal yet what that one's going to be, but it's going to be another themed lawnmower. It's going to be another themed lawnmower. I'm pretty excited about that one too. Not maybe as over the top as say this one is. This one, I will change the pulley on it. I will go to a smaller pulley in the back, and so it will go a little bit faster. But it's mostly just a show. It's going to be mostly for show. There's going to be a lot. There's going to be, if everything works out right, there's going to be quite a few electronics in it as well. I will give a hint. I will give a hint off that one. That old Murray right there. I am really thinking about putting a turbo in that one. Like I said, this one being the theme it is, and that it's not gonna get a turbo, but again, that one I'm thinking about putting a turbo in it. We'll see how well this one does. Again, this is my first one, but I'm thinking about that other one because it does have a better motor in it. I just found out about, what's it called? Oh, I just saw it. I can't think what it's called right now. I'm so tired. I didn't really have much sleep. But you don't use the pulley itself. It looks, it's like what goes on golf carts, whatever those freaking things are called, but a little bit smaller. I might even put one on this one because I've heard it does a little bit better on it. So it's not the flywheel, it's not the torque converter, and they make little small torque converters for them. So I'm thinking about doing that as well. Again, this is really budget, but big budget. I'm not expecting to make money off these things. Again, it's just something for me to do. So it also depends on how much it costs. I'm not going to spend a fortune on them. Because as you can, if y'all been watching or even seeing some of the videos, everything is hand done. I don't have specialty tools. I don't have anything like that. Everything's DIY. So, like this one right here, you see the rendering drawing, it's going to have a lot of fiberglass on it. I have some metal. I was going to put some metal, like make metal fenders on the rear. 2 reasons I may go to fiberglass. 1, it's light. 2, Well, 3 reasons. One, it's light.
K-series.
2, I can
Would you be running more boost on the 40?
mold it a lot easier.
Yeah, so
And 3 is just the cost. That's what I was doing today. I was checking on cost on metal, I was checking the cost on fiberglass, everything like that. And just for what little bit of metal I bought the other day, I spent $40 and didn't get much. The metal is so freaking high right now. It's ridiculous.
yeah, we gotta talk about that.
I was getting parts of my project truck out there a couple months ago. Me and him got talking about it. How much stuff's went up since the early 2000s is crazy. It's ridiculous. I remember going in when I had my project cars, going in Advanced, AutoZone. I really didn't use O'Reilly's that much back then, but going to Advanced AutoZone, you can get pretty much anything. You can do a budget build from crazy. You still wouldn't spend that much. I mean, granted, stuff was still expensive, but I mean, that was only 20 years ago. Look how high stuff is right now. It is so crazy.
Anyway, that car made 1320, and that was on 60.
We did get a stick welder. I don't know if that would be on the YouTube side. I just started doing the TikTok lives. But we got a stick welder. But again, the way the shop is, I run off a cinch cord, and it does not like heavy loads. And that, I'm telling you, I'm being honest with you, it's a freaking cheap 2-mil welder. And it's still, as small as it is, does not like the power. So we're trying to figure that out, see if I can't find a generator or something like that. But
boost is a measure of restriction.
because I do have a few things I want to weld. Obviously the steering linkage on there has the way I did the front lowering steering linkage has to be moved up, so that needs to be welded back to it. And of course, there's a couple other things I need to weld, just to make it stronger. But that's something we're still, like I said, I don't have a bunch of money, and I wish I did, because it makes me jealous sometimes when I see a lot of these shops online and they have so many tools and everything, which I'm sure they accumulated them over the years, but still, I just don't have that. I guess you could say I'm doing it old school, bending it by hand, and like when I was making them brackets for that axle, that was all done by sledgehammer and bending it that way. Y'all got any projects going on? I would love to hear about them. Send me your. Y'all got any projects going on? I would love to hear about them. Send me your. I don't know if y'all heard that, but no, send me y'all's YouTube links. YouTube, TikTok. I don't care. I'll get on there and I'll see what you got, especially if you got projects going on. I got 2 YouTube accounts. One's for my crazy stuff. I don't know if y'all see my videos or not, but one's for my crazy stuff, one's for my car stuff. TikTok is all on one thing. Trying to keep up with all this stuff. I'm not very good at social media, but so I put all my crazy stuff even on this one. But no. But y'all send me y'all's links. Send me y'all's links to y'all's YouTube channels, TikTok. I'll definitely check them out and then give you a follow and likes. I live on TikTok. I probably use TikTok more than I do anything, but I put all my videos, my build videos, and all my other stuff on my YouTube channel. But y'all send me that stuff.
Are they reusable though? Once you go to the head, you have to reuse. Yeah, they are usable.
The 3 times that I've had that motor apart, for rebuilding purposes, I've never touched it.
Yeah, the copper is just squishes, and you can't redo it. But the head gasket, using
Come on, Matt.
well, that's OEM. There's something something up your sleeve, bro.
Nothing.
How do you think of that kind of power and not having no head gasket issues?
That's the thing. The case is the same thing. We have head gaskets, you see the work. Same thing. Similarities between the two platforms that I see and the Evo that I've seen with the cranks.
This one
cranks.
is
And they just, to me, from my experience, there's so many people testing different things, but OEM crank, OEM head gasket.
that at all. Let's talk about that.
Again, 1322 OEM crank and OEM head gasket and OEM cast block just filled. But and I'm not the only one. It's not like I just so happen to be the lucky one. I actually got shit luck. But there's a ton of people that are proving that this cast is fast. Yeah, cast is fast.
All right, I'm gonna get back looking at this and see what we can get into next.
At the end of the day, the power levels that you shoot these motors, something's eventually going to go. There's always a weak link and a weak part that's going to let go, but they seem to be holding up pretty well for the parts, which is super crazy.
How many issues have had power?
I remember doing that more back in the day.
What are you doing?
My DSM days and early days, you would hear about a lot of head lift and all that, people blowing head gaskets. In my opinion, it's like one, either an assembly issue.
Okay. Maybe not like retorquing?
Yeah, like even like down to the very basics, like somewhere like assemble an engine and not clean out the ports where the head starts, rolled right into. So any engine builder will tell you if they're not cleaning, let's say there's some oil trapped in there, you'll get a false reading when you're torquing it down the spec. And now it becomes loose. And then once the engine heats up, now you got parts expanding. Yeah, it's just going to become looser. That's why you actually read the instructions on a lot of, let's say, the head studs. They'll tell you during installation, once you torque it down, they want like a few heat cycles and then have you go and retorque it because of stuff expanding. Those head studs will get loose. So a lot of the times, I'm not going to say all, but a lot of the times I'm going to say it's either A, it is installation error, or two, the tune, which will play a big factor in popular SEC.
Too much time. Let's say too much time. Do you know when your motors like that? Like timing wise, how much time you can run?
What the hell it is? It does not like it.
I don't get too technical into the tuning. That's just something that's like, I'll admit it's just out of my league. I'm never gonna say never, but as of right now, I have a good support. That's his way. I let him do his thing. I'll do everything I can on my end, and I'll let him finish it all. I've never, all the cars that I've brought to him, whether it be Supras, Pros, Hondas, I brought many different cars, different motors. I've never had to go pop or most of them. The only catastrophic that I ever had was blown cooling, through the head gasket, and it was more so my fault because I was pushing too much boost for the type of PX that I was. And again, I still started the car and put it in the truck.
You get 2000s?
I had the basic off the shelf air PX that was trying to handle those 30 pounds of boost.
Oh, good.
It's just one of those things that, like I said, really set out there.
No, that's not fueling. You got a bit. You got a bit. What later? Max, you're getting in the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I'll send you a video, right on the guy, just clear all over. Again, it's from, the headset, which is not rated for what I was trying to do.
So if I had a 4G and I took it to you to build it, you're telling me, and I said, hey, I got unlimited budget with this 4G 650 right? Build it this spec. Tell me I can go in the dyno, make 1,300 horsepower, and not have any head gasket issues.
I mean, anything is possible. I can't make a promise that I can't keep, but I know from my own experience, I've built many thousand horsepower plus motors, and I've never had a head gasket failure.
I mean, I know I'm stressing the head gasket thing. I'm just saying that's just what I've heard.
Yeah.
I don't know. There could be other people's problems.
Off that, Max.
Yeah, everyone's gonna have their own experience.
Get your bed.
So
We're here laying your bed.
not like a specific answer to why everything's not the same.
Right.
Many factors that play into it.
I didn't ask about the transmission in this. What's the transmission setup in this car?
So this transmission is CRV, like everyone uses on the K series.
Okay.
It's a CRV, but it does have PPG, like a full PPG kick.
Okay.
Transfer keys. The only difference, so it's got straight cut gears with PPG, but this one's actually synchronized transmission. So PPG will go around race car stuff, and then they have the PPG synchro gear set, which is great because, like I said, when I built this car, I want to keep it
Yeah.
driving. So having the synchro, it just makes it a lot more comfortable on the street. It's not shifting, it's not notchy, you don't feel like you're damaging the gear, and it's much smoother for your street car. You know, the advantage is it can handle a lot of power.
How would they rate it?
I don't know the specific rating because I personally go with one 12 box, it just so happens to be a street car, I want to keep it synchro. I know of people that are making 1,000 wheel on the PPG synchro, so they do still handle full digits. I don't know how much further than that or how long, and I don't think I'll ever find out. But I know with the synchro they hold a good amount.
So, what do they go for price wise?
I think right now, Drive Cartel I think has like the best pricing on them. They're running a sale right now. I think the PPG synchro is about $5,100 or 134 gear set. Not cheap. It's not cheap. You know, the way I look at it, you know, how many you're gonna buy a stock Honda CRV transmission, it'll cost about $1,000, $1,100, $900, depending on the mileage. That's about the range right now. With a stock transfer case, it's only gonna hold so much power. And how many times are you gonna be swapping out that transmission before you finally, you know, consider let me put a gear set that's gonna handle more power? You know, like let's just say you do 3 transmissions, that's already $3,000. A little bit more you could have now invested into a proper gear set that's gonna hold. And again, for the most parts, they still do. PPG still works, but obviously not compared to like stock K series gear set.
Gear set. Is there other options as opposed to like
There is. So the most popular that I've seen is a company called GearX.
Okay.
GearX makes gear sets, and they made a couple of revisions since they first came out, and a lot of people swear by it now. They're more affordable. I don't remember last time I saw it. I think like a full gear set. I want to say it was like I think high $2,000, low $3,000
Oh, that's
for
not
one
bad.
of their gear sets. So more budget and friendly for your
Yeah.
average, person. And again, I've heard that they handle a lot more power and they're better than when they first came out. So that's more of a budget friendly option for people with GearX gear set. Even turbo cars are running it.
Yeah.
I think they even have, I could be wrong, I'm hoping, but I believe they even have their own turbo gear ratio. Gear set.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be able to put together a whole case series spot just off this episode. So let's talk about some of the races that you've had in the past. We didn't really touch on any of that stuff, right? One of the biggest ones that was a big deal was the race with Cross Street.
Right.
And you've spoken about it a good amount of times, I'm sure, in the past when it's happened. You may not have to go into full detail. I'm sure whatever you discussed on TRC, you kind of did a whole breakdown of that. But we were talking before the episode, and you were explaining that you drove down. I don't really know too much about the backstory of it,
Right.
How it kind of led to driving all the way down to Florida. But you take a car like that, for so much time to drive to Florida and back the car. It's a blessing that you're still here, you have all your limbs and everything, and you had a car that has proper safety in it as well. Now, there are people who have this thing and say a street car should not have cage, right? Yeah. So, no one's gonna force anybody to go out and put safety equipment in the car, but it is recommended. What is your take on safety since that message was a big deal?
I mean, all I can say is to start off, obviously, I'm grateful that I don't have, the safety equipment. Could I have been more prepared? Yeah. Like, people know that most people do it. Like, I didn't have a helmet. I had everything else.
I saw that.
I didn't have a helmet on. In a way, this is debatable. I mean, one can never know for sure, but based off of me and the way the car turned out, if I had a helmet, the way I sat in the car with the helmet was very close to the roof. And if you look back in the photos of video, the roof actually caved in because I had a 10-point cage, so I didn't have like a 25.5 or something where it has the funny car cage, whatever you want to call it. So in that driving section, in between the two bars, the center section and the front bar, it actually caved in. So had I been higher up with the helmet, it could have. Someone has mentioned it could have possibly tweaked my neck. Could have been a different outcome. This is all hearsay. I mean, we don't know for sure because we only know the outcome that I had. But regardless, I would say the helmet was the one thing that I lacked, so to speak. But as anyone knows that races on the street, now you see it more. But back in the day, you would never hear anyone put on the helmet on the street. Most people wouldn't even. Most tracks would require a helmet up until I turned faster than a 12-second pass. Certain tracks, I remember racing, going down the track without even a helmet because it just wasn't required. Because we weren't going that fast. So again, using that into the street, no one on the street really wore a helmet. Now you'll see it. People are, obviously taking it a little bit more serious and they'll suit up and put on a helmet. But I personally would not have a helmet. So safety for so again, we had a 10-foot cage and it was built properly. Okay. I always say it. Shout out to Cage. He did the cage on that car, and I was very grateful after the fact.
Could you stop?
Because trust me, I'm sure you've probably seen it. You research it, you'll see it. There are cages and cages. And what I mean by that is you can have a cage in the car, but it doesn't mean that it's done properly or welded properly or penetrated properly. There's a lot that goes into it that someone is just thinking, oh yeah, the cage in my car, I'm good. I've seen accidents and I've seen stuff where the car had a cage and it just ripped right off the road, right off the chassis. It's like the cage wasn't even there, non-existent. So, you gotta be careful that it's not just because someone happens to have they operate or have an experience in reading the NHRA, specs the way it needs to be. But anyway, that cage definitely played a huge role. It did take an impact, there's no doubt about it. You look at videos and pictures that I posted, it took a mean hit from a couple of trees that I hit, but had that cage not have been there, even on the street, because I've seen comments on your videos, a cage wouldn't have saved, wouldn't have saved them or something. No one really truly knows. Right. However, I am a firm believer that having a cage and the proper equipment in the car is minimizing the risk of what has happened. So, of course, there's certain situations, just like when you're trying to compare it, there are some people saying that, like, wear your seatbelt, but there's been incidents where people are trapped in a seatbelt, can't get out, and they're die from that. So you can't really compare it, so to speak, because every situation plays out differently. Right. However, in a general rule of thumb, a cage, there's no doubt about that a cage is going to save your life or at least help and minimize the risk of something happening. That's my take on it. Everyone has their own opinions, and some people rather invest that $3,000 to $5,000 on a basic cage and put it into their motor and totally ignore it. who are we to stop them? We can only do so much. We can only tell them, like, give them our advice or even explain our experiences and kind of shed some light into them. But at the end of the day, I really understand that.
No one's forcing anybody. Whoever's watching this, no one's forcing anybody to put the safety equipment in the car. But I feel like you should have at least something. And if you don't, I'm not judging you. You know, like
We've all been. I mean, again, I'm not proud of this. I mean, after my experience, this Mini does not have a key. Am I proud of that? No, I'm not. Saying that to brag or anything. It's it's a street car. It was never intended to go to the track. It just so happened to be. I just wanted to see what it would run.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to justify or make excuses, but I do understand sometimes why people don't put cages. Like me specifically, this was a dedicated street car, never meant to go to the track. So I don't want to be tearing up the interior, drilling holes through my dash just to fit a cage for a car that would take to the track at one time. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, and I'm not singling anyone out, but like, you go out and buy a $100,000 M3 or whatever, and you want to go racing, you're not going to be wanting to now put holes to that. Yeah. So again, I'm not trying to justify or talk people out of it, but certain situations, like I do understand why some people don't put cages, but then at the same token, there are some people that they know what they're getting themselves into. They know they're going to constantly race the car. They've already had a bad experience, and they still rebuild and come out with another car and don't focus on the safety. They just go on hitting their number. So that's where I'll feel some type of way because it's like you're just like being reckless with it and you're not caring about who you're leaving behind and what. How you know what I mean? Like there's a lot that goes into it. So in a way, I get why you might not, but if you're that type of person where you know that's what you're going to be doing, you're going to be racing, you're going to go to the track, and you still disregard that, then that's when it becomes like a little selfish on that person's part. But again, you're free to do what you want, so like, I can only share my opinion on it and like, take your personal experience. Yeah. At the end of the day, it is what it is.
with that race, right? 24 hours, like you said, down to Florida. And, that road is super sketchy. Like, I'm like, yo, why are y'all racing on this road? Like,
a lot of people say that. So, really quick, just so like people get some insight, because a lot of people don't even know how that happened, because it was just popped out of nowhere.
yeah.
So, it actually, there was a live. This was one of the live. The lives were really big. There was a live, and who was it on? I want to say live. I think it was Tony's live. I could be wrong. Tony Tulip.
Yeah.
You host the
So
live.
is he still online?
Yeah. So this was when that whole No Prep Dream Fest event was coming up, and Tony was on the live and he was getting people on it, and I remember I had tapped in because people kept like tagging me in the live, and I was like, this is what it's about, and I tuned in, and it's Boy Cartoon Network, and he's on the live with Tony, and Frustrated was on there, and they were going back and forth. They were basically, Cartoon was like, along the lines of like, we got whatever car Florida got, or the South has got, we got something for it. You front wheel drive, we got something. You're all wheel drive, we got something. So with that, my name ended up getting brought up because I had an all wheel drive Civic, Frustrated had all wheel drive Civic.
Yeah.
So he had said, oh, all wheel drive from New York, who you got? Who you got that's all wheel drive from New York that's got something for it? And he was like, yo, my boy RPT. He's like, he's got an all wheel drive Civic. He's like, which one? Which one's that? He's telling us the green hatch, and then once he said that the Evo swap, he knew, what car it was.
Right.
So once he mentioned that, being frustrated, he was like, oh, I got that shit is nothing, you got nothing on me, I'll smoke him, his typical talk. So now I'm getting hyped, and I'm like, yo, why are you talking shit? Like, he's saying mad shit, he's gonna get a golden car, you don't know what it's capable of. I was like, whatever. It ended up letting me go. I felt some type of way. Of course, I gotta represent New York. say, you know what? I was like, let me reach out to this dude, see what he's about. And I reached out to Tony, and I'm like, yo, what's up? I was like, frustrated, when you know, want to race? Like, is this really a thing? I was like, because we don't have to wait until the no prep. We don't have to wait until the no prep, because that was, I think from that live until the no prep event, I want to say it was like a couple months out. It was a couple months out. I was like, why wait? I was like, is your car running right now? Is this car ready? Because I was like, we don't have to wait, but you know, let's just get it done. I was like, let's start it off sooner. And this was at right around the time where I could not get a race. The last race that I had before first race was with Kaiju, with the GTR.
Yes.
That was my last race. And so after people seeing what I did compared to him, because people already seen Kaiju racing, they knew kind of where the caliber, where he stood with the cars. Once I raced on, no one wanted to entertain him. The only people that I had entertained was like people like 1700 plus GTRs. I don't sit with anything like that. My car was still the Evo 6 Honda Bishi still had carpet, plastics, 2 seats, heat, pretty much stock dash. I had this stock trip.
All right, guys, I'm gonna call it. I gotta do some studying. Since I did the flip over, obviously the shifter linkage that connects to the shifter is way too low. For some reason, being upside down, it seems to be bothering with the belt. So, plus I gotta reverse the clutch and handbrake, and might try to figure out something else with that. But appreciate everybody that watched, and we're gonna try to do this TikTok live thing every week, and we'll see how it goes. Also, if it's just too cold out here, I may have to shut it down for the winter. We don't know yet, but I do appreciate everybody. Please like and subscribe. Go to YouTube. It's under the same name. We appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
We're live. He said, no, I'm dead ass. Load the car up. Tell first to go coming down. We'll go knock on the door. So I hit up Tony. My boy's supposed to just make it happen. And he was like, I'm talking faster than the sea. So he got us on the call together. And
This is like on the phone or like FaceTime?
I believe it was no a call. It was a call. A call through Instagram. I had told him, so I'm messing around and stuff.
Did you switch platforms after that?
So after my little fair share of Honda and that DSM, the DSMs, I got into Toyota MR2.
The white, was it the white one or it
was a white one, but not the white one that you're thinking of, because that was only just a few years ago.
Right.
I would say my first MR2, this was 2006. Oh, yes, 2006, 2007. I got my first MR2. Again, it was crashed in the front, considered total. The frame was but you know, my father, he grew up doing the mechanics in the automotive, but he also did body work. So he was able to fix it up, he reconstructed it. Still had a clean title, it was never reported, but ended up getting it was like $6,000 at the time. And it was a factory turbocharged model. And so I got into the MR2s for a little bit. Didn't last too long. Like, it was fun and all, but I didn't have anyone around that knew much about them until I really do anything with them. You know, knowledge is everything. So at the time, there was really no one that I can remember running an MR2 at the time. So, you know, it was cool, it was fun, it was a mid-engine, and I had a lot of fun with it, but it was short-lived, and then, you know, I got back into Mitsubishi after that.
Did you ever experience is it oversteer in that car?
Yeah, and I haven't had that issue much with the newer MR2s that I've recently had.
Okay.
I do remember that being a thing with them.
Yeah, because of motor being
mid-engine platform.
Right. I know that's one of the popular things well, not popular, but that's one of the things that is most common with that platform. It's funny because Kyle, Lucid Boys, has one. Yep. And he's flying with that car. But like, that doesn't seem to be any issue with that. You know what I'm saying?
No, not anymore. I mean, he's down to 70, he's down to 75, 74.
Yeah.
On that MR2. Yeah. There's definitely an inspiration for the MR2 community.
Yeah. So, but at the time, did you ever think about maybe putting a different motor in? Because no?
The whole engine swaps came way later on.
And did you ever have a B series at all, or?
I did. Well, I had the LS that I mentioned in the Tiger.
Right.
And then I had a few B series after that, but to be honest with you, thinking back now, I probably had more single cams than D series. There was just something about, I've always been a turbo guy. I've had my fair share, I've tried all motor, I always go back to boost. To me, there's just nothing like boost. So to me, you know, getting a single cam for a couple $100 and slapping a turbo kit on it, it was just a more financial way to go about it at the time. You know?
Yeah.
I was in high school. I didn't have any money, I didn't have a job, so you know, the little cars that I was flipping with my dad, like that's what fun is.
Yeah. And what, you doing eBay kits?
Yeah. Yeah. At the time, I didn't even, I don't even remember it. You know, I mean, I think Turbomax was out at the time.
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know, Turbomax was pretty big, but I couldn't afford that. You know,
Yeah.
since it was like eBay Turbo kit was, you know, I think $500 at the time.
CX Racing still a thing?
CX Racing, yep. That was it.
Yeah, CX Racing, I remember.
Yep, they were putting budget, you know,
Yeah.
China, Turbo kits. I mean, hey, you can't really knock it for dollar for what you got. It did its job. You know, it didn't last too long, but you know, it worked.
Do you think that maybe today's turbo kits from eBay are better than what they were back then?
They are, and I think a part of it is just the way technology has came to. You know, I mean, not trying to knock so much, but they're, you know, they have advanced as well. Over the years. But I mean, there's plenty of people that are still running. I mean, you know, obviously they took a different route. They're, you know, more serious into the racing, but like Hop from Boosted Boys, they always, their entire YouTube channel, you look at it from when they started up until like a couple years ago. Yeah, they're always running like, you know, eBay, knockoff turbos, and they work. I mean, look at this EK hatch. I mean, it went like 10s or even 9s on an eBay turbo. I mean, can you really knock it?
Crazy.
You know, on a budget sometimes.
I wonder, but you know, sometimes I think maybe it's just because some of these people that are the companies that are making some of these parts, they're like doing side jobs or something like that. You know, maybe they're like making the parts or they're getting, you know, how like the materials and still making them just selling them cheaper or something like that. Because they can technically.
Yeah, because I don't want to say too much, and I'm not going to expose any company, but all I can say is a lot of the companies and a lot of the manufacturers that you see out here selling these products, not all, but the majority of the stuff is produced in China and then sent over here.
I've heard this plenty of times, but then it's like, not everything is 100% made in the US.
No, absolutely.
You know? So there has to be some involvement for some of those parts to kind of be manufactured, because we can't get everything here, and also the cost is going to be probably a lot higher.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, there's still a lot that's being manufactured here in the US.
Right.
But there are the companies that are producing cars that are, you know, outsourcing from overseas. I mean, it's the name of the game. It's what it is. You know, like, we live in a society now where, like, you know, everyone's having, not everyone, but the majority of us middle class, like, we're all, you know, hurting for money. You know, it is what it is. Like, everything is cost and everything is up.
Yeah.
There's no denying that. So sometimes we do tend to budget, and when you go budget or try to take some shortcuts, I guess, so to speak, you know, you're gonna look elsewhere. There's just no competition overseas. Like, we can't make anything here in the USA compared to what they can overseas. Quality might not be the same, but there's not even me. I'll be the first one to admit it. I run a lot of knockoff parts. I pick and choose. I know what I can get away with and what I can't, but me personally, I have all these high horsepower builds. There's still a lot of knockoff parts.
Like give me examples of knockoff parts.
One my Evo.
Okay.
The latest blue Evo that I have, other than this one, right before the carbon one. The two blow-off valves on there, I was running a dual blow-off valve system. They were both, and they even stand tile right on it. And it's knockoff eBay blow valves.
Wait, yo, that's with the tile on it?
With the tile on it.
Oh, man.
You go on eBay right now and you type in tile wastegate, let's say, whatever, 44 millimeters, 60, you know, wastegates, I mean, whatever you want. The wastegate, blow valves I've seen. That's why you gotta be real careful on the used marketplace. You gotta know what you're looking for.
And it's identical.
You put them side by side, you can see the slight differences in the build testing. So if they're side by side.
Okay.
If you're on marketplace searching for a blow valve or wastegate, and unless you know what you're looking at, like I have the experience where I I've already dealt with the both in my hands. I can distinguish the two, but your typical ordinary person that's looking to build their car, trying to budget or look for used parts, they'll see the tile on it and think it's like a real tile blowout or something, and it's really not. So, you gotta be careful. Do they work? I've ran it. Thankfully, luckily, I've never had any failures with them, except for like a small leaking one over the course of like 2 years.
Okay.
I mean, you're also paying $50 brand new for this blowout. So, and again, I'm not telling everyone now, don't mistake this for me saying go and buy your knockoff blowout valve. But again, if you're on the budget, there's certain parts that you can, cheap out.
Why did you choose why choose the blow-up valve to cheap out? Is it because you feel like you should pay a lot of money for it, or?
I'll be honest, what led me to do that first was I needed a blow-up valve, the actual tile authentic.
Okay.
Didn't have it in stock, and it was at the time, for whatever reason, couldn't get my hand on it for like 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
So I tried to look at other options, and I went on eBay and happened to find a knockoff. And I said, for now, let me get this, I'll try it.
Yeah.
And when the authentic one comes in, I'll just swap them out. I ran it just to, test it. Like, a lot of people know, like, I have no problem testing the tile. Like, I'll be the dude there. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
Like, I've never been, I can thank my father for it, I've never been like much of a follower and do everything that I see someone else do. I'll take bits and pieces of knowledge and learn from it, but I like to do my own way. I like to try my own things. If there's something new that someone has an idea and hasn't tested it, I'll grab it and run with it. Yeah, I'll try it. A lot of the times it doesn't always work. It's just part of it, but I feel like, when someone comes up with something and it becomes a wave and everyone runs it, uses it, it's because like injectors, aside from the turbo, what else am I going to need to make this power? Computer, can I make that on stock? Like what do I do? So honestly, like people ask me all the time, we'll get into it later, but like as far as like I make the mini kits and it's revolving around case series, so I get asked all the time, like, what do I need to make X amount? What do I need to this? And I always tell people before you try to, buy any parts, set out a goal for yourself. Like, what is your intention with the car?
Okay.
Start with that. Find out where you want to go, what direction you want with the car, because that's going to dictate what parts you're going to have to look for if you want to save in the long run. And I've done it myself so many times. Like, I won't set out a goal. I'll just start buying parts, and then I'll have to change the setup because it's not what I want. Or this part, like let's say fuel injector wasn't big enough to achieve this goal, so like set out a goal, figure out what we want, and then go from there. Because especially with the Honda stuff, there's so many different variables. There are so many different types of PCs, there's so many different types of transmission types. There's just so much to a K-Series. It's not just one generic, like, hey, this is one K-Series motor with transmission like that. There are so many variables, so you really have to just ask yourself, what are you trying to accomplish with it? And from there, make parts list. So like if you want to go with your 500 horsepower setup, first thing you're going to get is obviously the long blocking transmission. Then you're going to have to figure out what your goals for 500 horsepower. You're going to have to get at least a stage 2 or 3 clutch to be able to support the torque that motor's going to put out. Once you have everything, something like your drivetrain assembled and ready to go in, then you need your motor mounts, your axle, your harness. And now it's just so easy because there's so many companies making it. Like Passport, they're the number one to go to for mounts. Wiring harnesses, you can even go budget around it. You get wiring harnesses so cheap nowadays. Again, from overseas. But there's so many companies out there that's making all these K-swap parts. You can literally put together a K-swap in a matter of days with minimum
So the transmission options, the stock transmission will be fine for 500, right? Or no?
Yes, they do.
If you get
To a certain extent. I mean, if you're doing turbo, it's been proven that like your 5-speed manual K-series transmissions hold up better. So like from the EV3, they have like a lower gear ratio and they're tougher for you. This is my personal experience. Someone might say otherwise, but my personal experience, all your 5 speeds are a lot stronger and hold up than your 6-speed. The 6-speed, they just had a lot of issues even from brand new. They were recalling the transmission for second gear problems. They're a bit more fragile, but even now, I mean, I'll still go to turbo K-series 500-600 horsepower with stock transmission and then just run it until it goes. But there's a lot of things that will factor, the reliability of it, how many miles, how it's treated. There's a lot that goes into it, just like everything else in the mechanical aspect of the car.
So when you say set your goal, do you mean like horsepower, or you mean like what you want to do with the car?
Both.
Okay.
Whether it be track car, street car, or both, track and street. If you're gonna autocross it, depending on what you want to do, and then same thing with horsepower. People might say they just want like a daily or a budget, but again, you always want more and more. So you kind of gotta think ahead too when you're building it. Right now, it might just be like a little fun toy, but we all know where that's gonna go. So like, I always tell people too, like, hey, if you can get away with, let's just say, 1,000cc injectors, because that's all you need right now, instead of spending the money twice or spending it down the line and then spending more alone, why not just go and get the 1650s right now with the 22? I mean, 2200 might be overkill. It's not looking for 1,000, but that's the point I'm getting at. Like sometimes the price difference is not that much more, so kind of plan for the future too. If it's something that you plan to keep long term, because in reality, you're gonna save it in the end. And I've witnessed that so many times. I'll pick a specific setup now, and then I have to change everything because I didn't think of what I could have done in the future with it. So you end up spending double. Now you gotta rip it out of the car. You gotta try to put it up on marketplace to find something to buy used. A lot of people rather buy new, so you know what they're getting. So it becomes a whole big thing.
Let's say if you're building your own, right? How do you choose what compression you want? Because that kind of goes along with the goals too. Like, how are you choosing the right compression to use? Is that based on other factors like turbo size, or what are you basing that off when you choose your business?
There's a lot. Again, it's going to piggyback on what your goals are, but fuel has a lot to do with it. You're going to be sticking to, because not everyone has the availability like we do around our area.
True.
So if you're limited and stuck with, let's just say 93, places don't even have 93. Like even here where I am now, you have to, like 91 is your highest octane. We have 93, but you're going to be driving around looking for not 93 opposed to, lower here, 93. So the fuel is a big, thing to consider too. So if obviously if you're limited to like piston, but at that point it's like how many, not everyone can or wants to run the 85, because you're still limited to the 85 pumps that you have. They even have, that's why they got apps to see where's the local 85. If it's a daily or a street car, you want to take a trip somewhere to an event or a car show, those people don't want to be stuck looking up where they can stop on the way to fill up. It's just a hassle.
Yeah.
And then, I've done it myself. You're carrying around 5 gallon chucks in your trunk. So, I would say, to me, it would be fuel. I would say fuel definitely plays a role in the compression. Turbo, too, the bigger the size of the turbo wheel, more octane you need.
Okay.
Or higher compression, I should say.
Yeah.
You need a higher compression to spool that turbo up. lower compression. I mean, that's why even back in the DSM days, I mean, such a low compression, 7 to 8, 8 to 1.
Yeah.
You're flooring and you're weighting it to like 5,500 RPMs just to get that.
Just so it's almost full. That's crazy.
Well, man,
If this is your first time doing it, right? The assumption might be, I want to run high compression because I want to make more power,
Right.
right? But is that always necessarily true?
From personal experience, I mean, yeah, I don't do much of like the the daily or typical street car stuff anymore. I try to shoot for. I mean, nowadays you have to have a high horsepower. You have stock cars coming out of the dealership now with 7 horsepower. So like you can no longer build quote unquote a street car with 300 horsepower.
Yeah.
It's like. Unless again you're just not care to race or who's going next to you on the highway, but so I would say like based off of the stuff that I've been working on lately in the last couple of years, I would to answer your question, I would say like the higher compression is obviously going to make more horsepower or horsepower easier.
Yeah. Do you get to a point where you're running too high of compression where you cannot run a turbo?
From the knowledge that I know now, I mean, I could be wrong because people running higher. I think on turbo applications, the highest that I've seen people run right now, and this is, on methanol fuel, ethanol, I believe it's like in the 11s, in the 11 range.
Okay.
I don't think I've heard of anyone go much higher on turbo.
That's pretty good.
It is. I mean, when you go back a couple of years, running 8 to 1,
Yeah.
or even 9 to 1 to now, in the 11s, it's pretty high. If you told us years ago a turbo car running 11 1 compression, I mean, you're gonna laugh. You thought it was stupid because it's a matter of time before you can raise it.
Right.
It goes back to the fuels and technology that we have, so that has changed. But I mean, then again, like the cases, I mean, your K24 out of the TSX comes out of the box 10 to 1 compression. So it's already high from the factory. That's why a lot of these people would just take go to JDM Engine Depot, grab a K24 off the shelf, slap it on and slap a turbo and make all this crazy horsepower. Like I mentioned, 500-600 horsepower is not unheard of. Like it's like your typical build now. It does not require.
That's good
much.
for a street car.
It is. I personally think so.
So you think that range, that horsepower range is kind of like where it's like perfect street car numbers?
For a Honda, yes.
500 to 600.
Something like in that that category, in that range. I personally feel like, from my own experience, I think like that 450, 500 wheel horsepower range is perfect.
Fun.
Especially for a front wheel drive. Anything more than that, I don't see you putting it down.
You doing all-wheel drive?
On an all-wheel drive, no, that's different. All-wheel drive, that's a whole different. That's a whole different story right there.
Is there a cheap way to get into all-wheel drive? Because like, all right, so you kind of broke down already what you kind of need. I don't know if injectors, like you kind of explained that too, depending on what your goals are. So basically, whenever you're building a car, whatever your goals are, that's going to dictate what parts you're going to put. Obviously, it's kind of common sense.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to ask just to be clear, maybe there's something missing.
But I also want to put this out there too. So while we're still on that topic, find out who's in your area too. Because like I know possibly, we're overwhelmed with part out guys.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say overwhelmed, it's a good thing. But part out guys, like if you're trying to build a Honda, we have multiple part out guys.
Oh, man.
Ain't even why.
I be looking.
Sean's K20.
I be looking on there like, damn, pick it up, man.
Listen.
Oh.
You go to these guys, like, again, we're fortunate enough to have them in our area, but I know guys down in Florida that are doing part outs. They're out there. You just have to ask around and do your research. But again, if you're looking to put together a Honda and you're on a budget, trust me when I tell you that should be the first people that you're looking at, because you buy a shelf room, a motor, a transmission, or the motor mounts, all the parts that you need to assemble it. I guarantee you, like if you go to Ant, for instance, he's doing this around the clock every day. All he does is part outs. He's a one-stop shop. You go to him, and you'll walk out of there with basically a turnkey setup if you do that. Literally. So, and I'm not saying don't buy any from these manufacturers, but again, it depends on your goal, your budget, whatever you're trying to do. These part out guys are a great resource, and even me, myself, to this day, I'm still turning to them. I'm still turning to them for parts and builds.
I don't know if he's selective, but a lot of the cars that come out of there, they're pretty clean.
They are.
I'm not sure it's because people are going to him because they know they're gonna get the best for their car, but I mean, a lot of the stuff I see there, I don't really see that. I'm gonna say deals.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, like no one really wants to buy a junk car.
And then
You know what I mean? But like,
sit.
I don't know like the business technicalities of how he, picks and chooses, but I mean, at some point you do have to pick and choose because at the end of the day, when he turns around and sells these cars, he's not going to rent. He might take it up and down the road, it might be good, but like at the end of the day, like you don't know how someone treated that car, so that it's his reputation on the line. Something happens, he's not going to turn around and be like, well, that was so and so's car. There's a lot of people that do that, but he's not. Him personally, he's not going to turn around and be like, well, that was so and so's car, and it was fine, so that's it. Like, he's not going to sell you something that's going to trash.
Put his reputation.
Correct. His car, and it was fine, so that's it. Like, he's not going to sell you something that's going to trash.
Put his reputation.
Correct. Selling on my Instagram story. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to jeopardize my reputation of what I got going on to screw someone over on a $500 part or $200 part. To me, it's just not worth it. Yeah, I see the same thing with him. He deals with a lot of the higher end builds, and speaks for itself. The stuff that he be posting, and even the stuff that's might be not as great or in great condition, he'll put it right on there. He's straight up, and the price will.
So let's say if you wanted to pick up some parts from these guys, right, and you're looking for the best deal, and you want to go all-wheel drive with one of your cars. What are the prices going for now? Is it expensive to go all-wheel drive with any chassis, with the A-Series, or?
Yeah, it is. The prices have gone up, compared to what they were a couple of years ago. Now you got a Honda, everyone wants to go all-wheel drive. It's proven time after time. It depends. I mean, with the all-wheel drive Civics, there's different routes you can take, and then it depends. If it's stock, it's obviously going to be a lot more affordable than if it's something that's built with possession, whether it's got straight cut gears or it's got carbon steel. There's just so much that you can use, so it's going to dictate the price. But again, the part out is a great resource that we have. And somehow he's always getting these all-wheel drive cars. And then it depends. Again, like I said, there's different setups. Like the rear differential, that's what's gonna, the rear diff. Like you can either go CRV, CRV Honda diff.
One of the most popular options.
Most popular, and it's because you can pick them up at a junkyard anywhere between like $100 to $300. So you blow one up, a couple $100, you swap it out. But it comes to a certain point. Maybe for your mild street going, a CRV will be good. But once you get to a certain level, and depending on the type of racing or abuse you put into it, that's when now you gotta look into the wagon rear diff. So the wagon rear, that's the one that's hard to find, and that one is the one that they start. I think the cheapest I've ever seen one for sale is like $1,800, and they have high end, probably $180K plus. We're talking. The Civic wagons, they're from the '80s. People ran those things. So, they're coming up in price and they're getting harder to find. However, some people may or may not know or seeing it. This is the start of something new.
Okay.
But that's really cool. Aspect from it, much stronger, much bigger gears, even than the wagon that's already between around 1,500, 2,000 horsepower cars. And you can, again, go to the junkyard, go to Jaguar, rear discs are going anywhere between, I've seen them, and I've already purchased, from like $200 to like 500 is the most expensive I've seen, like 30,000 miles. So if all goes well, they've done already the R&D, they've already put it on a car that's already been testing it a while back, low key. But now they're really advertising it, and they're going to start pushing that as just, you know, another option for people, you know, that are on a budget and don't want to do, you know,
That's gonna be a budget option.
this is a budget option. However, it seems like with the direction it's going, it's going to be an option that high horsepower cars can use.
Wow.
So
What Jaguar is this, you said?
it started, it started in 2002, and I believe it goes to like 2008. I could be wrong, but I know it started in 2002, and it's a Jaguar XL. So those rear grips have the same gear ratio. Talking about gear ratio, I'm not going to get too specific because I don't know the nitty gritty of it, but when you don't match gear ratios, or there's like a small hairline window that you can get away with not being 100% on point, but in an all-wheel drive car like this car here, if I was to take a rear end from whatever car, let's just say like the Ford 88, it's a known. They have different gear ratios.
Right.
I've already looked into it. A Ford 88, there's no one out there that will make gear ratio the same as the Honda. So if you were to take, let's just say, a Ford 88 rear diff with a 308 gear ratio, you slap it on here, destroy the transfer case. So if they're not perfectly in sync or very, very close, you're going to destroy something. So luckily that there is another option with Jaguar using the same gear ratio. It'll work.
It's the same exact gear ratio.
Same gear ratio, 253. So they've already designed, it's in production as we speak. They made a billet cover for the Jaguar diff. So it bolts onto the Jaguar differential, and it uses the same mounting style bolt pattern as what the CRV and the wagon has. So if you already have, let's just say, an S1 built all-wheel drive kit, you can just take that cover bolted on the Jaguar, bolt it right into the rear diff. So you're designing in a way where it's, again, giving people in the community another budget option that actually may turn out pretty good. And along with that, they're also already doing their axles for it. So they're truly making it like another bolt-on all-wheel drive kit using that rear differential. So if you didn't know, now you
Damn, I'm excited. Like I'm about to have one. Like I'm building a Honda or something like that. That's crazy. So what are the prices though for the wagon system, all-wheel drive system?
For the rear differential?
Yeah, like what are they going for? You said 1,800.
So I've seen them as low as 1,800, and I've seen them as high as like $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 for like a rebuilt one with new bearings, LSD, wave diff.
I mean that's not terrible though. If you can make 1,500 on that.
I'm surprised that people are even making the power. And again, now it's no surprise that it's already been proven. Car after car. I mean, there's so many cars running the wagon diff. That it's proven they're making a lot of power onto them. And when you look at this thing in person, you're like, how is this little pumpkin making and holding this much power? It's tiny. It's real small. You compare it to a typical, like, let's say, a rear-wheel drive, rear kind of rear differential. Like, it is a baby compared to an actual rear differential. You think in your mind is, but it's holding so much power.
And then there's like the viscous coupler as well, right?
There is. The viscous coupler is in the drive shaft. So if you're running a stock CRV rear diff, you have to. So the CRV from the factory, let's start there. It has the rear diff and it's got a straight drive shaft. There is no viscous coupler in the CRV. The reason is because the CRV uses clutch packs inside, so it'll actually slip internally. So it does not need a viscous coupler. Those discs will not hold much power. So, like for instance, S1 build, they have like a clutch locking plates, and now they have a locking. The unit itself, the clutch disc in, they already sell the whole pack. That's already locked. Once you lock it, that'll, prevent the slippage internally, but you have to add a viscous coupler because you need that slip somewhere.
Right.
The weak link was just those discs, they would just slip with low power. So, but yeah, viscous coupler will go in the drive shaft. I know primarily they use the viscous in the drive shaft from like the Freelander, Range Rover Freelander.
Okay.
So that's primarily the drive shaft they focus around.
The wagon van didn't come with the viscous coupler?
It did.
Okay.
It did, and that's what a lot of people use.
If you find where you're using that.
Correct. And again, they're pricey. And they're old. They need to be rebuilt. Refurbished. So, the Freelander is that other secondary option. If you don't go with the wagon van, that you can use the Freelander drive shaft. And they make all these upgraded parts.
Yeah.
They're using 3-inch tube now, 1310 joints. They have their own mounting brackets for it. You give them a call, you give them your measurements, and within a week, you'll have a fully done up drive shaft capable of 1,000 horsepower.
That's crazy. That's wild. I mean, at least the good thing is that they're still innovating and they're still making parts for people to keep the Hondas running. Because it gets to a point where it's kind of like the DSM. Like they're such dinosaurs. I'm sure you have a box or a ton of parts from DSMs or bolts that you've had over the years.
I've got 2 dedicated drawers in my toolbox full of random nuts and bolts and washers, and then I have a plastic tote full of bolts.
That you can literally put together a whole other, probably 2 cars.
Oh yeah.
That's how it is.
5 more.
Literally. So it's cool that they're keeping that alive and kind of still innovating parts and kind of keep that spirit going.
Yeah.
Now, you have a lot of experience putting different motors, different chassis, things like that, right?
Right.
So, what are some of the things that you look at when you're looking at a chassis and you say, I want to put a K-Series in this, or I want to put a Fortune in this? One of your popular builds was a Civic with a Fortune.
Yep.
And that motor was in an Evo at some point, and then it went to the Civic. Now, what made you want to do that, and also what were some of the things that you looked at in order to make it happen?
So that one in specific, the Evo Swap Civic, that one actually started as a joke. It was never meant to happen. I can't even say I even considered the thought of it.
Yeah.
One night, me and my friends were together. Some fooling around and some drinks involved, and I was looking for a new project car. I was looking to do something different, and I had just picked up the hatch. I got it from Tri-State Motorsports at the time. It was just something at the time they were like doing like part outs and stuff. And that was a running car with a single cam. I ended up buying that, and that was when like the all-wheel drive Hondas just started to hear about it. That was like right after Goulet from CLM, the green, Section 8. So that was like right after that. I think this was like 2018 or 2019. I got the Civic because I heard about the all-wheel drive. And like everyone else, you hear about it, you want it. You want to do it, you want to experience and see what it's like. So I ended up picking up the car, and I knew I wanted to do all-wheel drive, but I didn't want to follow where everyone was doing. So I was just trying to think of like, how can I do this all-wheel drive, but like kind of have my own little twist to it. So one of my buddies that I was with that night, Adam, he's DSM Evo head also, and we were talking back and forth, and he just comes up with this random thought like, you should Evo swap it, and I'm like, what? We're laughing. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And he was like, no, I'm serious. Like, you should put like an Evo motor in it or something. That's all-wheel drive. Why not do that? So like Honda, you love your Mitsubishis, put them together. Yeah. And we're going back and forth. I'm still thinking, he's full of it. Like, whatever. He's kind of blowing it off. It's just one of those thoughts that's like, I didn't know anyone that did it. The thought sounded crazy. It might not work. But, again, me being one that is willing to try something new, I told him, I was like, you know what? I was like, I'll tell you what. This is when, at the time where, Evo parts were starting to be hard to find and start going up in price. And I told him, I said, find me a swap. Find me a full swap that is affordable, that I can, it can be realistic. Yeah. And I'll do it. And sure enough, the next day he calls me up and said, yo, I got a guy in Connecticut. He's got a full swap. Just came out of his 04 RS. And I was like, all right, I'm here thinking that he's just toying with me. So I'm like waiting for him, like, all right, what is it? How much? What are we talking about? Told me a price of $3,700 for the full swap. Motor, transmission, transfer case, shifter box, cables, axles, everything I pretty much need. All the important stuff. Wiring harness. And then I was lucky enough, the motor actually stock block. It had head studs and cams.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, I'm still thinking that he's BSing me, like $3,700. That's you can hardly find a loan block for that price at the time. So I said, all right, let me play along, see how far it'll go. Sure enough, he gives me an address. I grab his engine once. I grab my truck, pack it up. I pick him up. He brings me to this big warehouse where the guy had all these cars. Sure enough, it was legit. Full swap, full entire swap, $3,700. So now the thought became a reality, and now it's like I have the Civic on the lift, and I have an Eagle swap. How am I going to make this work, and is this going to work? And little by little, so I started taking measurements. It starts with measurements.
Okay.
Let's even see if this is doable.
Right.
Let's see if it even fits. If it does fit, what modifications or what clearances do I need to make? Once I got all that and I saw that it would fit, one thing just leads to another. First things first is let's get the engine or the swap perfectly level, matching the car. Car's got to be completely level.
Okay.
The swap has got to be level.
Right.
So once everything was leveled out, now I'm going to check positioning.
How are you leveling the car? Are you using lasers or just like actual level, putting it on top of the car?
In actual level.
Okay.
But and actually, I'm sure there's a lot better ways to do it now, but
Yeah, I'm sure.
at the time of my knowledge, based off of the equipment that I had, just a basic level.
Okay.
Leveling out the car on the lift. Adjusting the arms to kind of get the height that I needed. So once the car was leveled, just check it with a regular level. Same thing with the motor. Put a level right on the valve cover. It's flat. Check the level of the complete swap. Once those two were level, next was positioning the transmission and the transfer case to be in line with your house. You can't have it too far forward so the axles aren't on an angle. Same thing, can't be too far back. You want to get it as perfectly straight as possible. And then you also have height. So now it's got to be at a perfect height where the hood is in the clearance, but you got to have the clearance for the oil pan. Obviously, this motor was never intended to be in a Civic, so you have to compensate for everything: axles, hood clearance, oil pan clearance. There's a lot that a lot of people, even out with the minis, there's a lot of people that will just take it off the shelf Honda kit, cut below some brackets, weld it on, slap it in, and think it's done. There's a lot more to it that goes into it.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to it, once I got everything exactly where I wanted, that's ultimately what I did. I took a key swap kit off of eBay. Because again, I didn't want to spend too much money not knowing if this thing was going to work. So it was like $200. I got a knockoff motor mount kit with the brackets. And I worked off of that. I primarily used the brackets because they're just, metal folded and that's it. So I used that as a base to start, and I just built it around that. I just sold wood mounts. So I used engine mount from the Evo. It was a Torque Solution, so aftermarket, but based off of the actual Evo mount itself.
For the motor side?
For the motor side, I used the Evo motor mount, and it happened to be the same width as what the casing is used for the engine side. I just had to modify and move over the bracket itself on the frame rail just to align where I needed the engine to be.
Okay.
And then from there, like I said, it's like a puzzle. Started with the engine, got that side done. Went with the transmission. Now the motor was perfectly level, and now the only thing left to do was just the rear motor mount. So there was a lot of custom fab work to get it in there. But once I got the motor and transmission in place, now it's like, all right, let's see what else is involved. The next big hurdle was the transfer case. So if you've ever seen an Evo transfer case, the tail section actually goes up and over the racking pinion and the subframe, as opposed to like your typical Honda that's under the subframe and rack. So that right there, they collided with one another. So now it was either I ran like a Evo 4, 5, and 6 transfer case where the tail section is actually underneath, or I modified the whole steering and subframe to work with the Evo stuff. I was asking people what were their thoughts on it, like, you know, the Evo community between the Evo 4, 5, 6 transfer case and the Evo 8. And the Evo 8 was a better option, stronger. The 4, 5, and 6 transfer case is weaker. There's not as many parts readily available because everything is overseas, Japan. So it seemed like the Evo 8 was the best option, but it required a whole lot of fabrication.
Like,
so
for the frame of the car, or just the notching the frame of the car, and stuff like that?
Frame, rack, and the subframe itself. So the subframe, I took an FCS race tubular subframe and modified it so the transfer case would clear. The rack and pinion, that had to get raised up. Now doing that changed the whole geometry of not only the tie rods but also the intermediate shaft going into the steering column. Also lifting it up. Now the boots were like just rubbing up against the frame rail of the Honda. So there's a lot of specifics that went into it, a lot of details that, like, even when the car was done and people saw it, they never actually got to see what it entailed because it's already done. But there was a whole lot. Even now till today, like, I still get people like, hey, can you make me a kit for the Civic to put an Evo motor in? It's not as simple as like what I made it look like. There's a lot of custom modification onto the actual chassis that needs to happen, not just on the parts around it that are bolt on.
Wow, so it's not something that it probably, so basically it'd be a headache. In order for you to come up with just a kit, just to mount the motor in there, it would not work because you have to do so many other things to make it work. It wouldn't be working.
Yeah, and that was just the front end. We're not even speaking about everything in the rear. Because again, going with like rear differentials, I had to run everything off the Evo. The rear diff had to match the front, so everything on that car was Evo. People at the time were thinking I was running a CRV or a wagon rear diff because of what they knew from the all-wheel drive Hondas. That wasn't the case. It was on an Evo 8 rear differential as well. So the entire drivetrain on that car was all Evo 8.
So nothing was from a Civic at all from other drivers. All just the motor.
Just the chassis itself. Just the shell. And then, but I did use, like, that's when I got connected with S1 Build. We, you know, that was our first initial contact was the all-wheel drive kit. So even though I had made my own diff mount support, because I was running the Evo 8 diff, I actually ran their off-the-shelf trailer arms, like the all-wheel drive trailer arms that they were selling for the, you know, K-Series or B-Series community. So I used the same trailer arms, same motor control arms, like all the stuff that they pretty much offer off the shelf for the all-wheel drive K-Series, let's say. I was running the same stuff on the suspension. It was just a physical drivetrain with an engine that made it all.
If anything broke or anything like that, you just swap it over opposite.
So that's where it became. So as the number one for axles, that's the way to go. I ended up custom axles specifically for that side. Evo on one side, Honda on the other. So luckily, I never, the entire 3-4 years that I've run that car, I've never broken a drive shaft, I've never broken an axle. So it definitely helped up. So as far as finding replacement parts, thankfully I never had to, but had I broken, let's say, an axle or something, unfortunately that's what sucks about a custom build or swap. You have to have the downtime waiting for it to be made because other people are doing it. It's not off the shelf product. It's not custom. You're setting up custom measurements and specifications, and it's built to order. So unfortunately, if something did ever break, like that's the only that's the only part that would suck about like a custom build.
That's the only time you've done that? Have you?
As far as like
After putting in 14 Civic?
No. So even before that, 2008 or 9, 2008 or 9, I had a hatch, and I had a DSL.
Okay.
Kind of the same. I mean, it's 4G63.
Yeah.
I went, and it was fun. I was an old guy. I did a 1G 6-bolt front wheel drive in a hatch.
EG hatch, right?
EG hatch. Oh, it was an EG hatch. I ended up putting the DSM motor front wheel drive, and it was cool. But to be honest with you, I pretty much got sick and tired of it because at the time it's like, all right, I didn't have no ones. There was no social media like that.
Yeah.
So there was no follow this person, asking this person. It's like everything is put out, and it's whoever you know locally is who you're gonna go to. True. So my biggest thing with that car was I ran it on a Megasquirt. A lot of people never heard of Megasquirt. But not that popular.
Yeah.
I guess back then it was, but it allowed me to, take a spot from another car, put it in the Civic and get it running because we made your own runs. It was like standard.
Right.
I couldn't find anyone to properly tune the car, so that's what made me get rid of it because I couldn't find anyone to, and I wanted to try it to it actually ran worse than how I got it.
Is it just because of the limitations of the software, or where do you think?
I think it was just because he just wasn't familiar. He said he was good. With Megasquirt specifically. But that's what made me, not really do anything with that car. To run for it.
Yeah, because I've never heard of that. I know people have said back then, we really don't need specific. But I actually never saw that at all.
Yeah, no, and again, it's mainly because of social media. It's like I come out now, I can document it and post it up on Instagram, and everyone knows and sees it. Yeah. And again, to be honest with you, it's crazy too because now thinking about it, when I did that in like 2003, and when my buddy initially said put it even over the Civic, like the 2-inch clips, like I know what I have to do, but trying to do that now, all-wheel drive, all these years later, it's just weird how it played out. Again, I didn't think about that stuff that I had done back then. The engines were also good, 4G63, but if you know the specifics of it, it's very different. It's oriented differently. It just is not the same. In my opinion, it's not the same. I personally think with the years of the technology, the Evo, drive engine has came a long way from the DSM. So
True. That's true.
it's definitely evolved.
With the transmission, though, you mentioned before that the 6-speed isn't as good as 5-speed. Isn't that kind of similar for the MR transmissions too?
It is. So this Evo is actually an original MR, but the MRs did have that issue. So the 6-speeds, they were loud. You put 350 C, 350 wheel, 400 push in it was like where everyone would tell you on forms and everything to, if you want it to last, that's like what you gotta keep. Anything more than that, you have to go 5-speed conversion.
Actually, one of my friends, Alan, he had an SE, but he put his transfer case went. But I used to fanboy over Evos. I used to look at them on the website. I graduated in 09, and I still vividly remember being on the inside of the website, still selling at a dealership, And that was one of the things I was like, people were like, oh, I'm gonna get the MR. My real guy's thinking, I'm gonna buy the car. I'm like, I'm gonna get the SE, bro. It was just funny because it's like the things that I imagined I would have and the things I was looking at, it's like, dude, I had no money. It's just funny because I did so much research on my car and I never did anything with it because I couldn't afford it. So like there's things I know about Evo because of the research of me thinking I was going to buy it.
And it's unfortunate because the MR, it always comes down to personal preference, but the MR, in my opinion, is like the best model in this Evo. Like, just everything it came with, between the interior, the wheels, the thing in the back of the roof. There was just so much that the MR offered, and then to have to come with a transmission that is not even as strong as the 5-speed is kind of a bummer. But I mean, the MR, the Evo, if I could buy an Evo in a street trim, to like either daily or have a nice street car or be an MR.
Are they still going for a lot of money despite the transmission situation?
Oh yeah. Even in general. And even in general, I don't, unless it's like, you know, clapped out and high mileage, but you're not really touching the thing when below the you know, like a fairly decent.
I remember they were over like 30, I think it was like 30 something when I was looking at it. I still wish I remember this, but I think it was like 30,000-ish,
Yep.
roughly. And I'm just like, damn, the prices are damn near retail almost. And then you're getting like a rust bucket almost. You know, you gotta make sure that, you know, especially if you're buying it from where we're at.
Absolutely. These Evos, they change now that they're getting up their age and they have a huge problem. Like anyone looking for an Evo nowadays, first thing, look at those rear chassis. They all rot out.
The what?
The rear frame wheels.
Oh, the frame, yeah.
Frame wheels
Right,
in the back. They all rot out. That's the first thing. Any Evo I look at, that's the first thing I go for.
Okay, anything else to look for?
As far as rot,
I know the shock
I mean,
towers is the big thing on that.
on the DSM, the 2G, that is for the shock towers. These I've seen them rust, but not at like rot like the the second gen.
Yes.
But these, that's the first thing I go. I look underneath in the back, if that's good. Then I start, you know, looking at the quarters, the pinch welds, your typical. But if there's rot on the Evo, it's gonna be in the back. I don't know what it is about it there. I guess it's just the way it's, you know, the structure is, and your body just keeps all the, you know, all the salt and dirt and everything there. But it's the first thing I go.
You know you lived long enough when the car came out in your lifetime and it starts to rust. And you're like, wow. Now that just like, for some reason I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I remember when this car came out and we're already talking about rust on this car. It's crazy. Like, that's wild. For your getting high amount of kilo, right?
Yeah.
But what's, like, let's say if you get something that like $30,000, that's a top dollar, that's one.
Oh yeah, you even see them like every now and then. I forgot what the last one was, but like a lot of these, you know, rented trailer. Yeah, have these low miles. I think one. I forgot. I'm not even gonna say. I know it was over $100,000, and I think very low miles. I want to say it was a couple hundred miles.
Oh yeah, that's brand new.
If not like 2,000 or 3,000. I know there's a couple of them recently within the past year that have sold out there for crazy money with low mileage, of course. But yeah, we're talking 6-figure car in Evo.
Would you spend that kind of money on Evo, knowing what they are, knowing how long you've had several insurers? Would you spend that kind of money on Evo?
Honestly, if you've got the money, if you've got over $100,000 to spend on an Evo, I don't think that's going to be the last dollar to your name. So, I mean, if I had that kind of crazy money and I really wanted one that bad, I suppose so. I mean, me personally, I don't think they're worth that. And that's coming from someone that has loved these guys. You know, what I personally know, I think like for over $100 million, I could invest my money into something better.
Yeah.
In my opinion. You know, but I'm also speaking because like I'm not a fanatic for like a very low mileage car or anything. I don't really care. You know, the way I look at it, like a car was meant to be driven and the mileage is gonna go back. Yeah, it's gonna happen.
That's true. Is there anything else you would look for in Evo aside from that? What about the bottom part? Any rust happening there? You should be concerned about.
Around us in the northeast, yeah, you're gonna get your typical surface rust, but I mean, a good cleaning and you know some undercoating, you know, it'll clean it up. But me specifically, like I'm looking for rot because rot is just like a whole other level of like bodywork that I personally want to get into. Like, I'd rather look, me personally, I look for something clean.
Yeah.
Because the mechanical parts of it, like I'm doing it all myself.
Right.
Bodywork, not that I don't know how, I've done my fair share, you know, learning from my father, but it's one thing that like, you know, I give body work. Not that I don't know how, I've done my fair share, you know, learning from my father, but it's one thing that like, you know, I give body because at the end of the day, like people want to spend as least as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no one wants to spend $10,000 on a paint job, or you can, but realistically, like nowadays, that's probably what it's gonna cost to do right. Like, so now that's just paint work in minor body. You start talking about rock, you're talking about cutting panels out, patching, welding, seam sealing, like there's a whole other level to that. And so me specifically, I look for something that can be as clean as possible to avoid me having to send it off to the body shop and get it work done and paint work. I don't want to do that. I'd rather spend the extra money and get something clean and just worry about the mechanical part.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's preference. There are people that I know that would rather have a perfectly sound engine than a body. It all depends, I guess, on what connections you have or what talent you have.
Yeah. This guy, shout out to Kino, my guy Kino, he has a rental club. And actually, at Frank's shop, I don't know if you know, there was a rental, I don't know when you was there. There was a yellow Eagle there, and then he has his own rental that he got painted. But I watched that car towards the end of it, like him just bringing it back to life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a clean Evo, but like it's just crazy because the prices are just wild. And it seems like people, with the Evos, it seems like when they get into that point where they store them, everything's clean, they sell it.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
Just keep the car, man. Just keep the car after all that work. Just keep it. It doesn't even make any sense.
That just stopped me for a while too, because I was always big into Evo. I probably like 10 to 11 Evo now, but
damn, 10 or 11?
Yeah.
Oh, I think you're like 4, 8,
Nah.
5.
Nope.
Shit.
So
Also, you sold a bunch of them.
I love them. Yeah, like I said, I don't keep stuff for like too long. I either get tired of getting bored or I want something different. I switch it up. But from the last year that I had, because I had sold the last one, and when I wanted another one, I just couldn't touch it. Like the prices were just insane. Like I couldn't. At some point, I couldn't afford what people wanted.
Yeah.
But then the other thing was like, I can't see myself spending this kind of money for this car that I've already owned and know what I paid for. And
Right.
It was like an inner thing. Like I can't justify myself spending that kind of money on an Evo, And as much as I love it, the Evo is my dream car.
Right.
From Too Fast, Too Furious movie dropped with the Evo 7, like that was my dream car. I had to have it.
Yeah.
And even now till today, I mean, these cars are, they're pushing some age, and even now, I still appreciate the car and I love people. I don't. It's one of those cars that I don't think I'll ever really get over, no matter how old they are. Like to me, they still have that. I don't know. There's just something about it. Even with the cars today on the street or even at the track. Like, these things are nostalgic, like they're still keeping up. Time has passed, but they're still out there doing their thing.
Absolutely.
A perfect example, look at Rafe. Rafe is going real fast on the floor.
RT, right?
RT Motorsports, Yep. He's been a big inspiration too, like even when I did the Evo City, he was the one that came on with Carl.
Yeah.
He was the one and only person that I went to get everything done between and he's done, but I've had him build the engines, transmissions, all from the Evo Civic. Tuning, like he was the first one to touch that car. So he's definitely played a big role in on the beach and the system.
That's really cool.
He played a big part in that car into becoming what it was.
Yeah.
And every time I watch him come out to an event, whether it's a testing tour or an event, he just gets impressive.
Yeah. That's cool though, man. You gotta have those guys who are still putting on. Were you ever a fan of I'm sure you were a fan of Kevin?
Yes, for boosted performance.
Was that like
If you're in the Mitsubishi community, you know. Especially now, the Mitsubishi community it's not that big. It's not that big. Like any guys that are out there, like everyone in the Mitsubishi community knows about. about. You know, of course, there's just no doubt about it. Like, you know, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
You know, like he's got that thing working for him, and it's doing it's time after time, and it's still going on.
Alright guys, so we're releasing our first ever manga-inspired merch drop. We have the GTR, BMW, Mustang, F-150, Street Alpha Worldwide, and the Master Mechanics inspired manga. We also have our podcast set merch on the site if you guys want to support the brand and other accessories as well. Make sure to head over to streetalpha.com or click down below in the description. So, we have Neon, the SLT4. This is years ago you had the Neon.
My very first Neon was, I believe, in 2009, right before my very first Neon. So I had one back then, and then I had another one, which is the white one that you guys see.
Yeah.
That was like King Swap or whatever. So those are the two that I personally own. The one back in the King Swap or whatever. So those are the two that I personally own. The one back in 09, I didn't do anything crazy to it, just take the bolt on.
Okay. Now, with that car, that was it was a cheap option for you to kind of get the turbo, right?
Yeah.
What do you think it was about that car that just didn't work? Or
That didn't work?
I don't want to say it didn't work. Actually, there was people racing the SLT4 back in the day.
Yeah.
But it just kind of died out. Like, why did you think that platform died out? What I'm saying is because you put a case in. So it's like if the motor in there wasn't working, you probably kept it.
Right. I mean, they were cool cars. I mean, to me, what attracted me and what turned me into the SRT4s was honestly, like, probably many other people, the sound.
Yeah.
Very unique, distinctive sound with the pops and the volumes that it did. And they were cool cars. To me, they were like kind of a sleeper out of the factory. They looked like they were regular Neon, but the high rod